It was a sunny October morning in 2005 when the unthinkable happened in the quiet suburbs of Pennsylvania. 14-month-old Kyle Lazarchik, a happy and healthy toddler, was found unconscious and not breathing under the care of his family's nanny, Aaa Cuadros. Despite the paramedics' efforts, Kyle had tragically passed away. Aaa Cuadros, a young woman from Peru, had come to America in search of a better life. Like many immigrants before her, Aaa left behind her home and family, determined to forge a new path in a foreign land. She found work as a nanny in Pennsylvania, caring for the Lazarchik twins, Kyle and Ryan. By all accounts, Aaa was a kind, attentive, and responsible caretaker, quickly endearing herself to the Lazarchik family. On the morning of October 13, 2005, what should have been a routine day spiraled into a nightmare. Kyle's inconsolable crying woke Renee Lazarchik around 5 a.m. She managed to soothe him back to sleep, not knowing those would be her last moments with her beloved son. A few hours later, Aaa placed a frantic call to 911. My baby, she cried. He's not breathing." Paramedics rushed to the Lazarchik home, where they found Kyle unconscious and unresponsive. Despite their best efforts, Kyle was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. The cause of death was determined to be severe head trauma, consistent with blunt force injury. In the aftermath, Aaa found herself accused of a heinous crime she maintained she did not commit. The case ignited national debates around race, class, and the justice system. The medical evidence was clear. The injuries Kyle sustained were not consistent with a simple fall or accident. Everything pointed to deliberate, violent action, and Aaa was the only one with him at the time. The prosecution argued that Aaa had violently shaken or struck Kyle, while her defense insisted on her innocence, pointing to a spotless record and lack of motive. Aaa Cuadros is not a murderer. She cared deeply for the children in her charge. The prosecution has failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Despite the defense's efforts, Aaa was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison. The Lazarchik family faced unimaginable grief, while Aa's family in Peru fought tirelessly to clear her name. It was just too much to bear. We had lost Kyle, and now we were being told that the person we had welcomed into our home and entrusted with our children's care was responsible. It was a nightmare that just wouldn't end. Years of appeals and a second trial in 2012 offered a glimmer of hope, but ultimately, the verdict remained unchanged. Aa's family continues to fight for justice, while the Lazarchik family seeks closure. Aaa is not a murderer. She loved those children, and she would never have done anything to harm them. This is a terrible injustice, and we will not rest until the truth comes out. In 2012, Aaa Cuadros was granted a new trial. The defense team presented a fresh case, challenging the prosecution's narrative and offering a different explanation for Kyle's tragic death. The injuries Kyle sustained were consistent with a series of accidental falls, not deliberate violence. The lack of prior evidence of abuse or neglect further supports Aa's innocence. Despite the defense's compelling arguments, the jury reached the same conclusion: guilty of capital murder. Aaa Cuadros was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. We are satisfied that justice has been served. Aaa Cuadros betrayed our trust and took the life of our beloved child. She deserves to be held accountable for her actions. As Aaa Cuadros continues to serve her life sentence, her family remains steadfast in their efforts to overturn her conviction. They vow to exhaust every legal avenue in hopes of finally clearing her name and securing her freedom. Aaa Cuadros was convicted based on her ethnicity and her status as a foreign-born nanny. The evidence does not support the conclusion that she is a murderer. This case is a travesty of justice. The case of Aaa Cuadros and the tragic death of baby Kyle Lazarchik remains a haunting reminder of the complexities and challenges within our criminal justice system. It's a story of loss, injustice, and the ongoing search for truth. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more true crime stories.